All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Today, I have a little bit of a mixed conversation. It's going to be fun, but we're also going to talk some heavy topics. Thank you for joining. Here with me today is a fellow Angelino, A.B. Burns Tucker. Thank you so much for joining me, A.B.
Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. So this video we're talking about, and we're going to play it for everybody so everyone's on the same page. It literally made my day at some point last week because I just didn't expect it. You know, we were talking about Ukraine in pretty much the standard ways. There was a debate about, whether mainstream media was challenging the narrative on what was going on around Ukraine enough. But outside of that, you kind of got it the same way that we get a lot of other kind of news until you came around. So just so that people know what we're basing this conversation on, let's play the video and then we'll have a chat. Hold on. The audio went away for a second. Technical difficulties.
Gotta love technology.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you're producing everything. All right, stand by. Oh, I see. All right. Playing with me today.
Okay, so boom. We was mad at Big T for being cool with Big Bang P, but Big Bang P just linked up with China. And if I'm not mistaken, Big Bang P is one of the richest men in the world, and everybody and their mama owe China some money. So we might have an issue, but this is what happened. Big Bang P was looking at Ukraine, and he like, I like that territory. It's like real close to Russia, and I feel like it belongs to us, so I'm finna come get it. So he didn't move his military close to the border, and he letting them know, like, I'm finna come get it, like. Just letting y'all know, right? And so Ukraine is like, we don't know what he's gonna do. So they got their military out there teaching their citizens how to do Taibo just in case they gotta defend themselves. But some of the citizens, they like, you know what? Big Bang P, he is kind of crazy, but he ain't finna bust a grape. And if he do bust a grape, guess what? America gonna come over here and help us. But my whole thing is like, I don't know if y'all forgot what happened in Afghanistan, but we was over there for over 20 years and nobody understood the assignment. So personally, I just would not put all my eggs in the American basket. I done seen the type of people that are American military employed, and no disrespect, but y'all need to go to them continuation schools in the hood and go get you some real shooters. That's all I'm gonna say. But anyway, so Biden done hopped in, right? So Big Daddy Biden, he done hopped into the mix, and he like, look, P, stop playing with me. I know you're trying to be funny because America over here arguing about abortion rights and affirmative action during Black History Month, but I ain't got time for this right now. So if you pull up over there, it's gonna be some smoke. And you're gonna get sanctions. I'm sending you a whole receipt. Like, you're gonna have to pay this bill. And P is like, bruh, let me tell you something. By the look of the inflation in America and y'all homelessness problem y'all got over there, y'all need this money. So go ahead and send me the bill, bruh. I'll pay it in cash. And so at this point, it's out of our hands.
At this point, it's out of our hands. It just starts at the top. Okay, so boom. Like, that's not how you usually get the news, but it's so much more entertaining. So I just first want to talk a little bit about everything that's happened around that. There's been a lot of attention. I've seen you on different programs. What has it been like to get this much attention for a video that you probably didn't think was going to get this sort of reaction?
Honestly, it's been a little crazy. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to like be as big as it has been and continues to be, honestly. So it was a little bit of like a culture shock when you go from like 2,500 followers to all of a sudden you have like hundreds of thousands of followers, and you have like these major news broadcasters and political analysts that I look up to retweeting me and reposting. So it's been exciting, but it's also been a culture shock, right? But I just love the feedback I've been getting from it, from just people who are like, I never cared about politics before. I never was interested in politics before. And now, like, I want the news. Like today, people were all like messaging me like, hello, where's our update? Like, come on, sis. I'm like, dang, like, So it's also very exciting. So, yeah.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was going to happen. I had retweeted saying, I'm totally behind you because I just think that's such a unique talent. And then I thought to myself, I almost wrote like looking forward to more. And then I know what it's like to have that pressure once you put out something, intentionally or unintentionally that gets so much attention. So I was like, let me leave this girl alone. She did say she's a law student. Let's not now make her a social media entity. But with that said, I think, and this was in some of the comments reacting to the video, I think the idea of making information accessible to people who aren't necessarily looking for it or want to know, but just can't wrap their heads around how it's being presented in the media. And so talk a little bit about law school and what it was that that inspired you to speak about certain issues that are a little bit heavier in a more simpler way, or in a way that you feel like people in your community will understand.
Okay. So law school is a whole different vibe, right? Because you're in this very conservative space, where it's, there's not a lot of people of color, right? In the legal field, when you think about what somewhere between 2 to 5% of attorneys are African American. So law school is difficult, especially like being a full-time mom and like being first generation almost. I found myself having a hard time like getting the material and understanding the material. And I would tell my professors all the time, like, I have a Stanford brain, but I got Compton grammar. So like I don't know how I'm supposed to win here, And so the thing about it though is that like I came to law school after my brother was wrongfully convicted and he was sentenced to 50 years to life in prison. And so when I got here, it was like, I don't have a choice but to figure this out and a choice but to make it. So I'm gonna have to finesse it however I can, to make sure that at the end of the day, the mission gets taken care of. And so what I realized is like, if I had known then when my brother was going through trial what I knew now, I don't feel he would have got convicted. But because I didn't have like the background understanding and knowledge about the law the way I needed to do, like it was so easy for them to just wash them how they did. So that made me passionate about getting the information out to my own community because I've seen it happen to us so many times. Working for organizations like Project for the Innocents, and like even I was a law clerk at the DA's office for a while, like seeing so many defendants who look like me, but an attorney never does. And so I felt like, okay, if I'm learning this information, like I got to put it out there. Maybe we can help change this a little bit. So that's what kind of got me started with doing content and like putting out the information the way I do.
Yeah, that's a really interesting background. So you're from Compton, is what I gathered, which for those who are not from LA is essentially the LA area, LA. And
I was born there, but I grew up like all over.
LA area.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's like it's a broad area that we call Southern California and LA. Very sorry to hear about your brother. Anyone can imagine what that might be like. Can you go into it a little bit more in terms of when it happened, what it was he was accused of, and what happened based on the knowledge that you have now?
Yeah, so he was 15 years old when this occurred. So he was convicted of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to 50 years to life. It was like first-degree murder with a gang enhancement and then like a gun enhancement as well. Essentially, he was convicted based on the word of an informant. So his case, although complicated in some aspects, is pretty much like a textbook wrongful conviction where you have an informant who gives information to the police. They go, they chase that lead and they run with it. And when you don't have one solid like understanding of what's going on and two like a solid alibi, right? Like he was with his family. A lot of wrongful conviction cases we see now, their alibi is like they were with their family at the time that it happened. But there's so many other missteps that happen in the middle of the investigation that it's easy once you get that target to hook them in. And like I said, my family didn't have experience with the criminal justice system like that at that time. And so we're thinking like, well, he's innocent. We know he's innocent. So, we had attorneys, we paid for attorneys. We went to trial twice. The first trial was a hung jury. At the second trial, he was convicted. But yeah, so we paid for attorneys and everything. And we trusted, the process that was happening. And even listening to listening to testimony, right? We were like, okay, there's no way, like the jury has to hear that. But again, not having that background knowledge of knowing how juries actually really work, um, kind of the different aspects and elements of the law and how it's easy to get a conviction, even though somebody is probably not like a principal in the crime or not even involved in the crime directly, right? We see it so often. So all of those things played a role in his conviction.
And so I believe it was he was 15 when he was accused, right? So how long has it been since he's been convicted?
He's been incarcerated for 15 years.
Wow. I always wonder what it's like to be in a position like the one that you're in right now and to have the stamina to be able to fight whatever you're fighting for, but also just keep it together, right? Stay hopeful. It's been 15 years. So, what are conversations with your brother like now? What does your family do in order to sort of manage the loss from him being incarcerated?
So as far as my family, I think they handle it the best way they can. Um, I have been very active on this journey for the last 15 years. So when my brother went to prison, it's almost like I went to prison with him, because that was the time when I was like, I can't, like that, how does that happen? And that's my little brother, excuse me. That's my little brother, that's my first best friend, you know? And you don't get to just steal from my family and steal from my mom like that and think it's cool. So I had decided, like, it didn't matter what it was going to take. I was going to get my brother home. And so right now, like, I know my family's very proud because they have seen me active and like on the front line this entire time, just trying to get justice for Brandon, period. Our conversations now, he obviously heard about the video and he was like more than excited. He's gonna be really sad when I tell him my Instagram got hacked.
I saw that, yeah. Put your handle in the comment section though. It's at I am legally hyped 3. So everyone go follow her a new account.
They got you, girl. But yes, I can't wait to tell him that. But no, he's heard, and he's more than excited. And this isn't the first time we've gone viral. Like, I went viral, I think, like one of my first posts on TikTok where, I was talking about his story. And so he's just grateful because it lets him know, like, people care and people are hearing his story and the time is not in vain. And so our conversations now are more just like, get your mind right because we're going to get you home. Like, at this point, when we're going through all of this and the things are happening, like, the next step is bringing you home. And so you've been incarcerated for 15 years and that has been your life, and you're going to walk into a whole new reality. So now big sister has to be big sister, right? And be like, I got to prepare you for what I know that you're going to walk into when you come home. And so I think he's a little anxious, obviously, right? But he's also just like, okay, like, I trust you. And so we're going to do this. So yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I imagine hope is a really important thing for somebody in this position. And I really commend you for having the stamina to take action and stay hopeful. Obviously, you're in law school as a part of this fight. There's a hashtag free Brandon. I don't want to get it. It's Turner, right?
Free Brandon Burns.
Burns, sorry, for it makes sense. Hashtag free Brandon Burns. I looked at some of the stuff that you've done under that hashtag. What has been the progress in your efforts? What organizations have you worked with? Who's given you help? Who's really helped you advance your fight?
No one yet. I've had people reach out recently who are like, let's talk about it. What can we do? How can we help you? I will say, like, my school, like, I hands down, my law school has been the most supportive in this journey since they kind of found out my story. Um, they have gone above and beyond to try to help me get the resources and connections and stuff that I need to move forward. And so, honestly, without my school, like, I'm so grateful to them. A Southwestern Law School, I'm gonna shout them out because they deserve it. Like, they have been the most, like, the professors, admin, everyone who could has, like, tried to call someone or try to introduce me to someone or help me, like, draft my petition letter or whatever. Like, they have gone above and beyond. So I would say that. Right now, because the laws in California are changing, there's a lot of new legislation that are potentially relevant to Brandon's case. And so the hope is that we'll be able to get some sort of recourse through one of those directions. So we may not be able to fight the wrongful conviction right now because that's a very hard bar. The standard is extremely high, extremely difficult to overcome. But there is potential to be able to hopefully, reduce the sentence to where he will be able to come home and have some sort of life.
What was the original sentence?
50 years to life.
50 years. Wow. So a lot of this is you, it sounds like, doing what you can through the system, writing, researching, having professors or anyone that's willing to help you. Anyone from the Innocence Project or ACLU or any of these organizations? And is there a reason that you've been given, if that's not the case, why they won't take up the case?
I think with those organizations, we have to remember one, they're a little bureaucratic, but they have a lot of cases, right? There are a lot of people who are wrongfully convicted or claiming to be wrongfully convicted. And these organizations don't have a lot of the resources that they need. So I don't think not getting the help has been intentional as much as it's been they can only do what they can do. I would say that my contacts in these organizations have been very helpful in, like, if they have another contact to refer me to, they have done that. Like, that's never been an issue. But I just think that, like, they don't get the support and funding that they need. A lot of the work that these organizations do are done by law students, right? So um, it takes money, it takes time, it takes resources. And so I think that's more of it than anything, is that there's just so many people to help and so few resources and financial backing, especially, right, for these organizations to be able to keep up with the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's just there's so many requests. I'm hoping that your additional media exposure will put you on somebody else's or someone's radar, one of these organizations, because I know when they really are able to do the work, they can be very powerful. A lot of
Mhm.
really sweet messages in the comment section just to share with you. People saying they hope that you get your brother out as soon as possible. Keep up. You're doing your fabulous job, Tucker. Good luck for your brother, Abineth Bakala said. So it's a huge thing to climb. And just for those who are just tuning in, we're talking to A.B. Burns Tucker. She had this viral TikTok video on the Ukraine analysis go big last week. Follow her on Twitter at I am legally hype, and then on Instagram at I am legally hype 3. And for anyone who's tuning in and hasn't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, and any comments and questions put in the comment section. So this has been a long struggle and process. Are there moments like when you get I'm sure after this, a lot of people have been reaching out to you. Do you feel like you're close, or what are the next steps in terms of getting your brother out?
Um, right now, I don't particularly know what our next steps are. And that's just being honest. It's, you know, it, I guess it depends on the route that we take that's most effective to bring him home. Um, so that's part of it. Um, And then, yeah, being on this journey for a long time, it gets difficult, it gets hard. I do think that we're getting close, and like I said, because there are things that are changing in legislation, and even the exposure helps as well, right? Sometimes I think we've seen cases, um, the fact that you have that backing, that you have a community of people who are like, this is not how we want our society to be ran. We don't think this person deserves to be incarcerated like this. This is not the type of society we want to present to the rest of the world. I think those voices, that backing makes a difference. And so I think to have that support now, I think that will definitely make a difference for Brandon, and I hope so. Um, it does get hard. So for anyone who thinks it's easy, it's not easy. I have my days. I have my days when I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, right? Because again, I am a full-time mom. I do work a full-time job. I am very active on my campus, so I am part of organizations. So I have a lot on my plate sometimes. Um, and law school can be triggering, and the work is rigorous and it's daunting, right? I think I made a post not too long ago where I'm like, I feel like I'm getting hazed, because it's an emotional roller coaster. But even, sometimes to read these cases and some of these classes and to hear the court's analysis and then also to hear like the ignorance of some of my cohorts, I'm like, wait, what? Like, so I have to catch myself sometime and be like, okay, you can't really take it personal, but sometimes I get a little triggered, So
It's
um,
impossible not to, right? This is such a personal story for you.
yes, definitely. And also finding a balance between people understanding that like I'm doing work and I'm here to get a solution and I'm not like a sob story, right? Like you don't want to always sound like woe is me because it's like that's not the case. The case is just like I feel like that prosecutor had my family messed up, so I'm coming back for justice. I don't know what to tell you. You feel me? But it's just like, so I have to find that balance too when I have my days where I'm like, I don't want people to think like, oh, like, we just feel so bad for her. Like, no, I'm still trying to do my thing. I want people to be proud, but at the same time, like, yeah, it's a struggle. You know, that's like your family member's been stolen and like basically enslaved, and that's some real stuff. And there's so many different pieces to the situation, like people don't know what it's like to drive 4 hours to visit and then they tell you they're on lockdown after you've waited 3 hours, right? And then they're like they're on lockdown, they don't get a visit, or driving 4 hours to visit and waiting 2-3 hours to see them for 20 minutes, right? People don't know like having to put money on his books every other week, you know what I mean? And then the state is taking 60% of it for restitution for a crime he didn't commit. His phone calls are expensive, or not even seeing him, for the last 2 years because of COVID. My mom didn't get to see him for a very long time. Some of my family members are not, cannot even get approved to visit him. So at one point, it was just me and my two little sisters who would make the trip hours and hours, right, to visit him. So it's like those are also the little things in the background that most people don't understand that are, very hard on you. When me and my sisters would visit, a lot of times, like on a ride home, like everybody would be in tears because it's like we have to leave him there. And so it's just been a roller coaster of an experience. I could say that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, I think we can all imagine. I think what you said is so poignant in terms of I want you to empathize with me, but I don't want you to feel sorry for me because that's not really why I'm here. It's to make a difference. And I think that is so amazing. Listen, I get it. I can't say that I know what you feel, but I do know a lot of people that do the work that you do, and it is so taxing, particularly if you have a personal connection. But what makes you also amazing is that you do have a personal connection. So that guttural feeling of what it's like to experience this, I think, is something that can be fire, although at times I'm sure it can be really challenging. Are there a lot of other families or people that you know that have had a loved one that they believe was wrongfully incarcerated or incarcerated for just the amount of time that they don't feel like fits the crime. Is there any support in places like that?
I have had a lot of people reach out to me recently, letting me know about their stories. When I worked for Project for the Innocent, I came in contact obviously with like numerous families. And some of those clients, I still check on and stuff like that to this day. Um, I don't think there's a lot of support around it, and I think because the conversation is so taboo and it's been so taboo for such a long time, that a lot of families are like almost ashamed to speak about it because it could bring shame to your family, right? Because it didn't make your family, make your name look bad when you like, oh, they went for murder. How does that happen, right? People, the general idea is like, well, they did something, you know what I'm saying? And so at this point in the game, since I've been just so immersed in it, it's like maybe they did, but they didn't do that. And so if they didn't do that, they don't get to go to jail for that, period. You know what I mean? Like, and we
Yeah.
have to realize that. Like, you could think what you want to think, right? But I think in terms of support, I think people do need to be more supportive of one another, these families, because I think if we came together more, we could make a lot of change. So whenever someone like DMs me or messages me and tells me like, oh, that like this happened to me, and then like I listen, I'm like, tell me the story, tell me more. Like I want to, like I'm like I want to know. Because I know like it's important. Like sometimes you just want to be heard. Like you just want somebody to hear your story. And two, like because I know what it feels like, I want to be someone that encourages them to keep pushing because it's easy. A couple years down the road, it's easy to like lose that momentum or lose that faith or, as the years go by, it gets harder and harder. And then also while you're trying to balance your own life. So I at least try to be as supportive as I can with my little bit schedule. I know I ain't got a lot of time, but if I can answer, a message or two, I tend to not, ever dismiss those because I just know how important it is. And if I can share anything with anybody, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, that shame element is so interesting. I mean, now that you say it, it makes sense, but to a point where those same families that are going through something similar are not actually working together, and they may believe in the innocence of their family member, but when they hear another person's story, they're like, not sure. But like you said, if they didn't do that, then they shouldn't be serving the time that comes with that. I mean, I know very well, obviously, I don't know your story, but in general, I think more than just completely denying a reality, one of the most powerful tools to fuel a lie or something that's not true is to kind of tell a half truth. Or once you put somebody in that public space, it almost doesn't matter, whether they did that thing or not. They're already there and they're already sort of guilty in the public sphere. So I think that is it's such an interesting thing that I think people should be aware of. And I just really commend your stamina and your attitude. I mean, really, I want to let you say anything else I haven't asked you, and then I'm going to read a couple of encouraging comments and we'll wrap it up. Anything else I didn't ask you that you think is worth noting?
I mean, it's so much to say, right? I think what I would say, my number one thing would be like, look, if y'all get summoned to be on a jury, please show up to jury duty, okay? Like, just show up because we need a jury of our peers. And the thing about it is we don't make the decision for us. Somebody else gonna make the decision for us, and that's why we are where we are now. In addition to that, I would say when we vote, because I know we be acting funny about voting, I don't know why, but I know we still do it. Please make sure that you're paying attention to your local elections. So you can vote for the judges that sit on the benches in your counties, right? They run for their seats, and 9 times out of 10, they're a prosecutor, right? So, really pay attention to those things in your own community. And I think that the energy will start to spread to where we can have a more balanced system of justice. There's a lot of work to do. It's a lot, but I think those would be my 2 main things: is show up to jury duty. I know you don't want to do it. I know they only pay you 3 cents a day, but look, my brother working for 14 cents a day and a bag of chips is $8.99. Okay, so it's gonna take him about 2 years before you get one. So you know, like, do your work. You know, just do that if you can.
Wait, those are actually two very actionable items. I'm glad I asked. You know, sometimes some gold comes out of that question, and you know, sometimes not so much. But I think that's two really important points. If you've been called for jury duty, serve. The way that you're talking about it, I haven't quite thought about it that way. So I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people. And vote local. So much is focused on the national, you know, obviously presidential elections, etc. But so much of what impacts people's lives is actually what's happening right in their district. So that's two really strong pieces of advice. I think just a couple of comments. AZ King says, good luck to you and your family, AB. And Fitsumai Raham said, stay strong, sister. Never give up. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. So we're going to leave you with that. AB, thank you so much. Thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. Share this video, comment in the comment section, and let us know what you think about this conversation. Thank you.
Yeah.